Hello and welcome to another episode of today's GK. I am Pooja Dwivedi, and in this segment we bring to you objective questions on a daily basis to help you crack prelims. So let's begin with the practice question of the last segment. Consider the following statements. He formed the Praja Socialist Party. He is associated with the Bhudan Yajna movement. He gave the call for total revolution. The above statements most appropriately describe which of the following Indian political leaders? So, yes, these all statements, they refer to Jayaprakash Narayan. He formed the Praja Socialist Party in the year 1952. And yes, he was associated with the Bhudan Yajna movement of Vinoba Bhave. And also he called for Sampurna Kranti during the years in 1970s. So the correct answer is option B, Jayaprakash Narayan. Let's look at the explanation. Jayaprakash Narayan formed the Praja Socialist Party, and in 1954, he devoted his life exclusively to the Bhudan Yajna movement of Vinoba Bhave, which demanded land redistribution to the landless. In 1959, he argued for a reconstruction of Indian polity by means of a four-tier hierarchy of village, district, state and union council, that is Chaukamba Raj. Total revolution means against Indira Gandhi regime. As she was found guilty of violating electoral laws by the Allahabad High Court, he advocated a program of social transformation, which he termed Sampurna Kranti in 1974 against corruption in public. And total revolution has 7 component revolutions, namely political, social, economic, cultural, ideological, or intellectual, educational, and spiritual. Moving ahead, consider the following statements. World Biofuel Day is celebrated by the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Any fuel that is derived from plant or animal waste is known as biofuel. The world's largest consumer of biofuels is India. We have to select the correct statement. Yes, the World Biofuel Day, it is being celebrated by the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, and any fuel that is derived from plant or animal waste is known as biofuel. But India is not the largest consumer of biofuels, the United States is. So the correct answer is option B, 1 and 2. Let's look at the explanation. On the occasion of World Biofuel Day, the United Nations Industrial Development Organization and the Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India, launched the Global Environment Facility Funded Loan Interest Subvention Scheme that provides financial assistance to innovative waste-to-energy biomethanation projects and business models. World Biofuel Day is celebrated by the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, and any fuel that is derived from plant or animal waste is known as biofuel. And we have discussed the third statement, so we shall move forward. Consider the following statements. Ujjwala 2.0 will provide first refill and hot plate free of cost to the beneficiaries, and it is mandatory to submit ration cards to avail benefits under Ujjwala 2.0. The connections are given in the name of the women heads of the household. We have to select the correct statement. So, Ujjwala 2.0 will provide first refill and hot plate free of cost. First refill and hot plate to the beneficiaries, and yes, under this the connection is given in the name of women heads of the household. But the second statement is incorrect because it is not mandatory for the submission of ration cards by the beneficiary under the Ujjwala 2.0. So the correct answer to this question is option A, that is 1 and 3 only. Recently, the Prime Minister launched Ujjwala 2.0 via video conferencing, and in the Union Budget for fiscal year 21-22, provision for an additional 1 crore LPG connection under the Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala scheme was announced. Along with a deposit of free LPG connection, Ujjwala 2.0 will provide first refill and hot plate free of cost. We have discussed this, and we have also discussed these two statements, so we shall move forward. Consider the following statements regarding Marburg virus. Marburg is transmitted to people from fruit bats. The virus belongs to the same family as the Ebola virus, and there are no approved vaccines or antiviral treatments for the virus yet. We have to select the correct statement. Viruses, when it comes to zoonotic diseases, are a reservoir of virus. Bats, basically bats are a reservoir of the virus causing zoonotic diseases that jump species. So yes, the first statement is correct. Also, the third statement is correct because it takes a really long period of time to develop any vaccination, especially for viruses, because they are very clandestine in nature. They always work in very secretive ways. So the first and the second statement, these two are correct. And the virus does belong to the same family of the Ebola virus. The correct answer is option D, 1, 2 and 3. Moving on to the explanation. Recently, West Africa's first case of the extremely contagious and deadly Marburg virus was confirmed in Guinea according to World Health Organization. We have discussed the first, the second and the third statement. Moving on, which of the following committees are not associated with the tribal communities in India? Shivanaman Committee, Zaksa Committee, Bhuria Commission, Rohini Commission. So, not associated. Okay, keep that in mind. If we talk about the Shivaraman Committee, this is associated with the establishment of NABARD. So, the first statement is, the first answer is not associated. This should be there. Number 1 should be there. And Zaksa and Bhuria are actually related to tribal communities. So, these two belong to them. Rohini Commission belongs to OBC, other backward class. So, if we talk about not associated, 1 and 4 should be the correct answer. Okay, the correct answer here would be option A, 1 and 4 only. Moving on to the explanation. Committees related to tribal communities, Zaksa, Bhuria, Lokur. The Rohini Commission was constituted in October 2017 under Article 340 of the Constitution to submit its report on subcategorization of other backward classes. And Shivaraman Committee is associated with the establishment of NABARD. Moving on, consider the following statements. Repo rate is the rate at which the RBI borrows money from the commercial banks within the country, and bank rate is the rate charged by the RBI for lending funds to the commercial banks. We have to select the correct statement. Actually, repo rate is the rate at which the RBI lends money to the commercial bank. So, if it borrows money from the commercial bank, it will become reverse repo rate. Okay. First statement is incorrect. The second statement is correct, that bank rate is the rate which is charged by the RBI to provide loans to commercial banks. So, the correct answer is option B. Okay. Let's move on to the explanation. Repo rate is the rate at which the central bank of our country, if we talk about India, it's Reserve Bank, lends money to the commercial banks in the event of any shortfall of funds. Reverse repo rate is the rate at which the RBI borrows money from commercial banks within the country, and bank rate is the rate charged by RBI for lending funds to commercial banks. Consider the following statements with respect to socio-economic and caste census. Every census until 1931 had data on caste. Every census in independent India from 1951 to 2011 has published data on scheduled castes but not on scheduled tribes and other castes. We have to select the correct statement. Since the year 1881, census is being conducted. Until the year 1931, yes, caste-based census was there. But here if we talk about the second statement, since 1951 to 2011, a caste census related to scheduled castes and scheduled tribes were there, but not OBCs. Here, as you can see, that it's mentioned that scheduled caste based census was there, but not STs and OBCs. This is incorrect. Okay. The correct answer here would be option B, as we had to select the incorrect one. Let's move on to the explanation. The passage of the Constitution 127 Amendment Bill 2021 saw demands for a caste-based census ring out in the Lok Sabha. While SC/ST details are collected as a part of the census, details of other castes are not collected by the enumerators, because if we talk about caste-based census will be helpful for policy making for OBCs. Okay. Moving on, so far backward classes commissions in various states have been conducting their own counts to ascertain the population of backward castes, and every census is independent India from 1951 to 2011 has published data on scheduled caste and scheduled tribe but not on OBCs, and before that every census until 1931 had data on castes. Moving on, the Vohra Committee report is related to which of the following? Gender bias in politics, right to information in politics, criminalization of politics, or privileges of parliament. The Vohra Committee report actually talks about criminalization of politics. So the correct answer to this question is option C. The nation continues to wait and is losing patience, said the Supreme Court on Tuesday, as it made an appeal to the conscience of the lawmakers, hoping that they will wake up soon and carry out a major surgery for weeding out the malignancy of criminalization in politics, which it added was growing day by day. The N.N. Vohra Committee, which submitted its report in October 1993, studied the problems of criminalization of politics and the nexus among criminals, politicians and bureaucrats in India. The committee had concluded that agencies, including the CBI, IB and RAW, are unanimously expressed. They have expressed their opinion that the criminal network was virtually running a parallel government. Moving on, consider the following statements with respect to General Insurance Business Nationalization Amendment Bill 2021. It proposes amending the General Insurance Business Nationalization Act of 1972 to remove the requirement for the center to hold at least 51% of equity in an insurer, and it ensures that the 1972 Act continues to apply to insurers on and from the date of the center ceases to have control over them. So the bill makes a director who is a whole-time director liable only for acts of omission or commission committed with his knowledge and connivance by the insurer. We have to select the correct statement. The General Insurance Business Nationalization Amendment Bill, which has been criticized on the grounds that it will lead to the privatization of general insurance. That is why this question has been asked. The first statement is correct, that it proposes amending the General Insurance Business Nationalization Act of 1972 to remove the requirement that the center will hold and needs to hold at least 51% of the equity. Second statement is incorrect because it ensures that the 1972 Act, it stops applying on the insurer as soon as the government's share, the center's share of 51% ceases in the general insurance company. Also, the bill makes a director who is not a whole-time director. Here it is written a whole-time. So the first is correct, the second and the third are incorrect. The correct answer is option A, that is one only. The center's attempt to get the two appropriation bill and general insurance business bill amidst the ruckus did not succeed, as the opposition demanded that the bill to privatize the general insurance company must be sent to a select committee of Rajya Sabha. Let's know about the features. We have discussed the first statement, and the second also has been discussed, and the third has been discussed too. Moving on, consider the following statements. Born in Midnapur district, Bengal Presidency in 1889, he was raised by his elder sister after his parents died when he was only 6. At the tender age of 16, he had placed bombs near police stations and targeted government officials. He is reported to have said of the British domination of India, "Can there be a disease worse than slavery?" So, the statements above describe which of the following personalities? It actually describes Khudiram Bose. Okay, so the correct answer is here C. Khudiram Bose. Moving on August 11th, 1908, one of India's youngest revolutionary freedom fighters, Khudiram Bose, was hanged by the British government. He was only 18 years old and born in Midnapur district, Bengal Presidency in 1889. Khudiram Bose was raised by his elder sister after his parents died when he was only 6 years of age, and he was inspired by Aurobindo and Sister Nivedita when they held public lectures in his district in 1902 and 3 respectively. At the tender age of 16, he had placed bombs near police stations and targeted government officials. He is reported to have said of the British domination of India, "Can there be a disease worse than slavery?" Moving on, consider the following statements with respect to right to education. The RTE Act aims to provide primary education to all children aged 6 to 16 years. It also has provisions for a non-admitted child to be admitted to an age-appropriate class. The 84th Constitutional Amendment in 2003 provided right to education as a fundamental right in Part 3 of the Constitution. We have to select the incorrect statement. The first statement, the right to education, is incorrect. This statement is incorrect because it aims to provide primary education to all children in the age bracket of 6 to 14 years. Okay. So the first statement is incorrect. The second statement is correct because it provides for the provisions for a non-admitted child to be admitted in the age-appropriate class. And the 86th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2002, not 84th of 2003, provided for the right to education as a fundamental right in Part 3 of the Constitution. We had to select the incorrect statement. The correct answer here is option C, 1 and 3. So after conducting a nationwide assessment of minority schools, the National Commission on Protection of Child Rights has recommended to the government to bring all such schools, including madrasas, under the purview of the Right to Education and Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan campaign. The 86th Constitutional Amendment in 2002, it talked about that right to education should be a fundamental right in Part 3 of the Constitution. And we have discussed the first, the second statements as well. So let's move on to the practice question. Consider the following statements. The Monetary Policy Report is published by the Monetary Policy Committee of RBI. The governor of RBI is ex officio chairman of MPC, that is Monetary Policy Committee. We have to select the correct statement. So I hope you'll be answering it correctly in the comment segment. That's it for today. Tomorrow we shall meet again with another segment. Until then, stay updated and thank you so much for watching.